Hello and welcome from Switzerland, from the Broncolor studio. With us today, some 800 kilometers more in the north, is Jeroen Nieuwhuis. Very nice to have you with us today.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. We met I wrote down like 13 years, no, in 2013, we met for the first time in Hong Kong. At that time, you won the close-up category of Red Bull Illume.
Yeah,
Jeroen, what happened since then with you and with your photography?
Well, yeah, it's funny because it already feels like so far away, so long ago. But yeah, a lot of things have happened. Back in 2013, I just started my career as a professional photographer, and that winning such a big prize was something really. It felt kind of surreal, especially because I came from a skateboarding background, skateboard photography, and I was standing on stage with some of the best action sports photographers in the world. Yeah, and that felt I felt kind of misplaced, to be honest.
Okay. And you said that you came from skateboard photography, but how actually did you start photography? Did you make like a standard apprenticeship? Did you join school, or did you just learning by doing it?
Well, I can let me open a presentation so that it's kind of easier to talk about. So for the people that don't know me, I will do a quick introduction. So my name is Jeroen Nieuwhuis. I'm a photographer from the Netherlands. I'm now 33. Started my professional career when I was 17. I've went to a photography school, two to be honest. The first one I dropped out after the first year because on a pretty early age, I had an interest in photography, and that was through skateboarding. I started skateboarding when I was around 10 years old with my friends. We were all living in the same village. And I think when I was 11 years old, I bought my first digital camera from the birthday money that I got. And it was a 0.4 megapixel camera. It was one of the first digital cameras. And I started using that camera to capture my friends skateboarding. Like as a skateboarder, you always want to improve and learn different tricks. And one of the ways that I did it was by looking at skateboard DVDs and also skateboard magazines. And besides the tricks that the pros were doing, I was also really interested in how it was captured. And I bought that camera to try to recreate it with my friends, but of course it didn't really work. But that was my first introduction to photography, was through the love of skateboarding.
You still have the camera?
Somewhere, I don't know where, but it's probably somewhere on the attic of my parents' house. I don't know where, but I really want to have it. I don't know where it is.
Okay.
I still hope to find it someday. But I still remember it. It was like this big, and it didn't have a screen on the back. It was like the ones that you like the throwaway cameras with just like 36 rolls, and you had to develop them. It was like the same principle, but you had to link it to your computer to like empty it. You can also like shoot like 20 photos, and then you have to. But it was cheaper than buying a new camera every time. So, but no, I don't have it. I wish I maybe somewhere, but
maybe okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Through skateboarding. Let me just like go through these. Like this was back in 2006. With one of my best friends. He's also a cinematographer, and I also am a co-owner of a studio now with him. And it was in August 2006. We both started our career almost at the same time. So I did it in photography. He did it in cinematography. We both captured local skateboarders on like events or on streets, shooting promos for this local skate shop. And also he was a pretty good skateboarder and from the same village, so I also hang a lot with him and shot him a lot. So this was back in January 2008. And one of the things that skateboard photography did, or like extreme sports in general, did pretty early on, was bringing studio flash equipment on an outdoor location. You didn't really see that much then. It was around the same time that Strobist, you probably know Strobist, strobist.blogspot.com, was coming up was a real big thing. So off-camera flash, like strobist photography was a real thing. But skateboard photographers already did that for a lot of years.
Okay.
And that was one of the things that those images in the magazines that really draw me into photography just look so surreal because they really made like a scene, a new scene on location. And that was something I found really interesting. So I tried to recreate it. So this was an image that that I shot in just a local parking garage because, of course, I didn't have a studio at that time. And this is just like one flash on a stand. And I was just experimenting. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just placing it like in front. Okay, that didn't really look good. Then in the back, up, down, power, up, down. I really had no idea. It was like trial and error.
Okay.
So
it's interesting that you say that you tried to recreate a surreal look, because we'll talk about later this, because that's exactly what you try not to do now, because now you're working very natural still with a lot of artificial light, but you try to make it look, or you manage to make it look very, very real or not artificial.
Yeah. And it's funny that you bring this up, because I also see like this evolution in my style, because back in the days, I just like to light the shit out of every image. So put a light in every corner and make an over-the-top image, just to like make almost like an HDR look. I never liked the HDR look, but by using flash, you could really create a lot of contrast and depth. And that was what I did with the skateboard photography. But slowly I started. So this already looked a little bit more natural than the other images. It was in a local barn that we built so we could skate during the winter. It was kind of sketchy because you also see the knives from like the tractor in the background. So no one ever got hit by those, but thinking back on it, it wasn't real safe. But yeah, good fun. And this was the image that you were referring to, where we met each other. Yeah, this was also with this. All the images are from Eric, my friend. And this was just something we were, I think we were doing a barbecue at my home, and I just had this image in mind when we discussed it. And this is literally like 3 minutes from my parents' house, and we just skated up and down the street for 10, 15 minutes. I was also on a skateboard doing a like low with a fisheye, so you also see the movement in the street. So I was going with him. And I just shot it, I think in 2012, and didn't really thought about doing something with it. Just wanted to make a cool image. Yeah, and then I don't know, from maybe some photography website, I saw the Bull Illume contest, and I submitted it. And months later, I heard that was at the top 250, so the last I think 25 in my category, and then a few weeks went by, and then they invited me because I was in the top 50, and they flew me to Hong Kong for 5 days. And we had workshop from you. I think, you did a workshop there, right?
I did one, yes, with
with
a biker, yes, in the fish harbor, yes.
Yeah, it was so hot. I can imagine.
It was so hot, and I had the same idea like you, shooting it from a very low position, and I was really fried on the black asphalt of Hong Kong. It was the hottest job ever.
Yeah, the humidity there was incredible. It was so hot. So and then that led to me being on stage in Hong Kong, and that was like I said, such a surreal thing. But nowadays I'm doing more commercial photography. I never like officially quit skateboard photography. I still want to do it, although it's been years. But it was it's hard to make a living doing extreme sport photography, especially back then. Now it's maybe a little bit easier for social media.
But let me ask this. You said it was a lot of fun being in Hong Kong, but did it have an impact on your professional career? Did you get more famous? Were people more aware of you?
Well, of course, some people do know me because of the Bull Illume, but I was, when I won that award, I was already transitioned more into commercial photography instead of doing extreme sport photography, action sports. So I think it didn't really benefited me that much. If I were an action sports photography, of course, like it's like the world press photo for your style, your genre of photography. But I already like didn't really do that much, so probably did give me some jobs, but cannot really refer to it. So yeah, nowadays I'm more doing commercial photography. I do own a studio, although I am mostly working on location, but the cinematographer I talked about earlier, Eric, we co-own the studio, and this is now an overview of my work. As you can see, not a lot of studio. It's mostly environmental.
Just about the studio, where is the studio? I know it's in the Netherlands, but can you give us an idea where precisely?
I live like if you have the Netherlands, and I'm close to the German border. That's where I live, and the studio is like 15-minute drive from my home, so it's so in the east of the Netherlands.
East Netherlands. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and my work is can be everywhere. As you can see in the images, a lot of them are on location. So I try to nowadays do a really natural look, but I try to create a scene with flash that feels natural for the untrained eye. Of course, as a photographer, you can see that there's something going on, but I just like to have it feel more natural, more painterly. That makes sense? Yeah. So
and how do you do this? I mean, this is for me. Let's say that's the key question for today. How the hell do you do this? I know from behind the scenes you have lots of lights, but in the end it just looks like a perfect. Like you're lucky, you have the perfect light, and it's a natural light. It looks like this. So how do you do this? I know that you work with pre-productions. Is this always part of it, or are you just try and error? How do you approach a shot?
So yeah, okay. Let's get the first slide. So this image is a little bit luck is involved in this image, because I was there on a location shoot prior to the shooting, and this location was absolutely epic. A real gorgeous old library in a old church. But when we were there on a location scout, it was a cloudy day, so I didn't see how the sun was falling in that room. But on the shoot day itself, when we walked into the room, the sun was already hitting the light really beautiful from the side. And when we started using, you don't see like these rays until you add like either like smoke or fog or like haze, and then you will see the rays of light. So when we started here and we were doing the pre-lighting, you can see in like the big image that the sunlight is coming from behind.
Yes.
But on the one on the left in the lower corner, you'll see it's coming from the side.
So that's your own sun then? That
is the actual sun on on location. So we were indeed really happy, really lucky that it was visible that day. But I made my camera on a tripod, and it stayed the entire shoot on exactly the same location. So the glasses, the table with the glasses stayed on the same table, didn't move, and the camera didn't move. So in the post-production, I could use different plates that I shot to combine it as a whole. Because in the end, when we were shooting the tower, the sun was coming from behind, but it was too epic. It was like too much like a godlike thing.
Okay,
it was
right.
almost distracting because it was so heavy. So we said in the post-production, let's add the sun rays from the side, because lit better. And for like the lighting, you can see different lights. So we have a light on the lights on a boom stand that's coming from behind, and it's kind of on the recreating the sunlight on the glasses, but just gave it an extra fill, because otherwise it will be the angle wasn't hitting the glasses. The one on the left, you see a big octobox going through a diffusion panel to give a real subtle glow through all the glasses. And then also one big softbox from the right side. And that's mainly to as you can see here on the guy's arm, to just like give it a little bit of pop.
Right.
And also the edge light on the right side of the glasses that's coming from that softbox.
Okay. How fast are you? Can you tell your assistant, I need the top light, I need the screen on that side, I need the backlight there? Do you have it? Do you have your setup ready in your head? And are you very fast, or are you like me? I try this and it doesn't work. I try this, that's better. But so, how fast are you with this?
I am pretty fast, I think. I usually have an image in mind when we are doing a location scout. We know which angle we want to do, and then I already think in my head, okay, probably gonna here, but it also depends on what the light is doing on that location. For example, I did it, like I said, I didn't saw the sun on the location scout, so I kind of tweaked it because I wanted to feel it more natural now.
Okay.
Yeah, and something like I can use up to 10 to 15 lights. And sometimes you only need like just one. This is an image from a series I did of the Iceman, Wim Hof, and I shot a portrait of him. And this is just one light up close, slightly above, like this. You see that the center of the light is almost like missing him. So he's only getting like the soft feather light from the low side of the octobox and from the side. So what I did is first I made an exposure, blank exposure for the ambient, and I dialed that ambient light a little bit down, and it was an overcast day, so that was really benefiting my photo, because it was like on a soft light all around, but a little bit too soft for my taste. So I added that light to give it a little bit more contrast from the side, a little pop. So that's what you're seeing here. So
but still at a very low intensity, not to overflash the entire scene, right?
No. It's real subtle, just giving it a little bit of a pop. Yeah.
Super nice.
Another one, like I said, the previous one was just one light. This is a little bit more of a complex setup. This was a campaign I've shot for Shimano for their Dura Ace system, their flagship product, and these shoots have a lot of pre-production in them, and also a lot of post-production. But it's really important on these shoots. We had 45 minutes with him to do 5 completely different lighting setups. So we have to did one test shoot a few weeks earlier with just someone we knew, a local rider, just to determine all the positions that we needed to shoot him, and also the light. And the image that you see on the right, on the left side, the middle image, that was a sketch from the ad agency. They really did a good job on that, because it's almost identical to the final output. But that really gave us a good reference for what the client was giving a go on. So the background that you see here is completely made in 3D, and it's really important to have this finished or like final before we went to the shooting, because you need to match the light that is in that scenario with the rider. So as you can see, we had a top light, a big strip box coming from a little bit from behind and from high, and that is like mimicking the light that you see from like the shaft in the background. And then you see the open, like almost like gateway in the back. So that's and there's light coming from there. So that's the reflector that's in the back. That's mimicking the same quality of light. And then we have just like the octobox and a strip light low, just to fill it in a little on like the side of the rider. And you can see it in the top right corner. There's also a Broncolor Para, the 88.
Yes.
That's filling in the front of his face a little. And I was shooting this on 2 Scoro packs and I think 4 of the Zeros, because I really needed a fast, short flash duration. because we weren't like we were. He was actually like driving going in circles really fast because he needed to lean in, and you cannot do that by just standing still and doing this.
Exactly.
So he was going on really, and we marked down on the ground with tape markers. So you see one of like one X just like in the middle of his bike. So when he was going out that spot, I would just click once, not like doing a sequence, because when you do a sequence, it's almost never that you have it in the exact that moment that you want him to be. So I was just letting him go in circles, and click.
Always one shot at a time.
Yeah. This one was really fun.
We will have a Q&A session at the very end, but there are already 2 questions coming in right now. And the answer of one of the questions we see here, what camera are you shooting with?
This one was shot on my Phase 1. That is a digital medium format camera with, I think this one was with the Leaf Creator 50 bag. So it's a 50 megapixel bag, but the difference between, the biggest difference between a normal camera, like a mirrorless camera or a digital medium format camera, is the size of the sensor. So it's like, if I'm correct, the digital medium format camera, I own like the Canon R5, which is 50 megapixels, and I own a Phase 1 which is 50 megapixel. But the Phase 1 sensor is, I think, 4 times bigger than the sensor of my Canon. So even though it's the same resolution, there's more detail on every pixel. And also because of the larger sensor, you get a different depth of field. And it makes for a more like smooth transition in sharpness.
How do you choose? How do you decide if it's a full frame or medium format? Depending on the client or depending on the type of shoot. When you have a location shoot and you can get everything like predetermined and you have the time, then I prefer to shoot it on a medium format camera, just because the quality is a lot nicer, I think. But when you just need to rely on speed and people are moving fast, then it's really hard to, and you're like not shooting on a tripod, that's really hard to shoot on a digital medium format camera because it's manual focus. It has autofocus, but for my I think it's always missing. I don't know. I see some people shooting always fast with like, I don't know if you get any sharp images like that, but yeah. Okay, no, great. The other question as well about the location before. So if you shoot in small locations, how do you prevent light from spreading everywhere? This is a question from Tillman coming in. Because if you use, let's say, if you focus the light too much, he's afraid like you can focus the para or you can use grids, but then the light might become too harsh. So how do you prevent of unwanted, uncontrolled spreading light in smaller locations?
Well, like one of the things that you can use is the fusion panels, but again, the fusion panel will spread the light more. You can see where just beside me in this corner, you see the black frame.
Yeah.
I use those quite a lot to just flag out different parts of the scene that I don't want the light to be falling. So you can either use grids, like you mentioned, that's a good one to make sure that the light is not going everywhere, or use flags. And yeah, sometimes in small locations it can be tricky. Yeah.
Okay, exactly. Like a negative fill, I think. I call them negative fills. Instead of having a white wall filling in the shadows, you put there a black wall just to increase the contrast.
Yeah. And you can of course like use it as you mentioned, like as a negative fill instead of a bounce. But you can also flag just parts of the light. So instead of having the entire part, you can just like
you flag off like part of the light. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
The next question, I think you already answered it. How do you nail the focus? I think with these tricky shots, you don't rely on autofocus. You just go, you put the model in position, you go for manual focus, you check it, and then bam, bam, bam. It's always at the same position, at least if the biker.
Yeah, exactly. Rides. And that's also one of the reasons why we marked the X and the lines. We made like a trail that he could follow. So I knew that every time that he hit that mark, he will be in my focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope we can go on later on, but we have one more question from Claude. That's one of the photographers we did the watches webinar with. And by the way, we have all these webinars. Just a couple of days later, they will be on YouTube. So if you like these sessions, we made a lot of webinars with external speakers like Claude Bossel, who was talking about watches photography. So go to the Broncolor YouTube channel, and there you will find the replay possibilities for all the webinars. And this Claude, he's guessing that you're using a 28mm here on your medium. Is this right? Do you remember?
Yeah, exactly. This is the Schneider 28 4.5 leaf shutter lens.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's like equivalent because again, through the larger sensor, it's more like a like 21 on
like a 20. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good. Sorry for interrupting, but I think it makes a lot of sense if the question is related to what we talked about. So sorry for that.
Sure. Should we go to the next one?
Yes, please.
All right. So this is one of the biggest projects that I've done.
Nice.
My Mountain Man book project. This is a documentation that I've shot over 3.5 year period, and then worked on for 2 years to get everything looking the way it now does, and also getting all the text, etc. So this is a documentation about a group of men who look like they are from like another century, and they are following like the traditions of the original mountain men that were pioneering the Rocky Mountains in roughly 1800 to 1840, mostly relying on the fur trade to make money. That was a big thing back in the days, because in Europe there was a big demand for beaver fur because it was a real trend, like the beaver hat, the beaver coat. So a lot of young men were sent into the Rocky Mountains because it was flourishing with beaver. And although it's not profitable anymore, there's still men that really live up to the traditions. And these men are incredible. They spent an enormous amount of time to make it sure it's all exactly the way it is. And I came across this somewhere back in 2015 because of an article that was placed by National Geographic. It was a small article, and it just had a few images, but it really caught my attention because it looked like a movie to me. And when I went online to search more documentation about this group of men, I was surprised that I couldn't find anything. And later on, I understand why, because they told me when these men go on for like weeks, months, some even year into the mountains, they really put on like the glasses and they see through it like it was in the 1800s. So they don't let normal people with normal clothes like this, or even modern technology with them. So there are no phones and anything. They really live like the 1800s in the mountains. That was really interesting. But through contacting different musea and historians, I managed to get in contact with one of these guys, and he also mentioned that the group is like getting older, and a lot of young people are coming in. So he thought it was a good idea to let someone in and document their way of living, to preserve again the traditions and maybe draw more young people into the group.
Right.
So,
okay. How long have you been working on this project?
In total, from the first image that I took until it was published, was 5.5 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was intense.
Amazing.
And I wanted to quit several times.
Yeah.
But luckily it's now here. So I used different cameras and also different techniques for this project. So this one is shot with a drone image at sunset, a little bit after sunset. These are also all the images shot in the book are either shot with a drone or on a digital medium format camera. And this goes a little bit, I mentioned previously that it's not the best camera to use in this kind of situation, and it wasn't. Although it gave I wanted to. I just liked the quality that it gave, the painterly depth of field, and also back in 2016. I don't know, but I think there wasn't any high-speed sync there, right? Maybe Urs, you know that better than me.
No, there were some medium format cameras that you could use with faster sync speed, of course.
Exactly.
But no HS, but kind of something in between, but with a center shutter. So this was a round trip.
Exactly, and that was the main reason why I didn't shot this on a DSLR, but on a medium format camera, because my medium format camera has a sync speed up to 1/1600 of a second. So even though on bright daylight I can underexpose the ambient and still have a wide open aperture, and then use my flash to fill it in and control the light the way that I want. That was the biggest reason why I shot it on medium format back then.
I'm very happy that you mentioned this, because this is a misunderstanding that I'm confronted with many times, that people use HS or high-speed triggering inside the studios. But inside the studio, you mentioned it before, we have short flash durations that actually freeze fast movements. So
exactly.
It's really, this HS thing is really an outdoor thing. If you leave the studio, you want to open the aperture and still shoot with underexposed environmental, which means you need a short shutter speed. So that's the reason to go for HS, or with this 1600 of a second that your camera offers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying it. So yeah, also like these, all from the book. And this is also a pretty interesting one, because you see a lot of people using flash and then having that flash be their main light. And I can understand having it to control it can be really intriguing. But maybe I like to use it in a sort of way. So here, even though, like, of course, the main light is the sun. It's making the rays in the background, but it made the image a little bit more of too much of the person, too much of a silhouette for me. So I used the flash on a low power just to fill in that shadow. So some people think that you have to use flash as your main light, but you can just use it as a fill.
Yeah. This is just maybe the question we got on the right side from Sini. She asked something that goes exactly in this direction. How do you adjust or how do you choose the light in environmental portraits? How do you decide which light and at what angle? So I think you mentioned before that you first have a look at the location, you shoot the first frame without any additional light, and then you just look at it. Or how is this process evolving? How do you decide if you use additional light and what kind of light?
Yeah, I like to start with just a blank frame without any lights to see how the natural light is hitting that scene, and then it's a matter of taste. I kind of like to light someone the opposite side to show the shadowy part of the image, because it creates more contrast. You can use from the front to it's a matter of taste.
Okay.
But I would suggest just start out with a blank layer, because when you start out with the ambient light and flash, you don't know which one is doing what. So it's easier to start out from scratch, add one light, add the second one, add the third one, 4, 5, 6. Then you really can understand which light is doing what, and you can make adjustments on that one.
There are a lot of questions coming in about how you work. Actually, are you spreading your knowledge? Are you working with assistants? Are you working with interns? Is it a one-man show mainly? So how do you work? How do shoots like this work?
Like the entire book project, besides the first trip, I went with another cinematographer and a director. I went here 8 times. The other 7 times I went all by myself. Mainly to spare costs, of course, because it was a personal project, and flying back to the United States. I did this, believe it or not, on the weekends. So I flew on Friday, shot on Saturday, Sunday, flew back on Monday morning or Sunday evening, because I need to be back in the studio on Tuesday. On one trip, I was less time in the US than actually flying, because I had 3 connecting flights. We were all delayed. So it was 46 hours and flight from the Netherlands to the United States and back was the exact same thing. So that was a pretty brutal schedule. But yeah, normally I use with at least 2 assistants. Sometimes and that can be freelance assistants. I've having interns for over 12 years now, and a lot of them went freelance. Some are really good at cinematographers, some are incredible photographers, and some still assist me for certain jobs.
Right, but you don't have any fixed employees that are in the studio every day?
No, I don't.
Okay, you just hire them depending on the job, depending on.
Well, like I got 2 interns every half year. There are 2 new interns. So currently I do have 2 interns,
right.
But they're not in the studio right now. I'm also not in the studio right now. I'm now at home at my home office because there is a video production going on in the studio with audio, so I cannot be there.
They will not appreciate.
They're recording sound, yeah.
Okay.
Great. So yeah. Also, this one was also pretty funny and hard to shoot. And when we were going up for this location, we were hiking up for like maybe an hour, and then I suddenly realized that I did not pack my octobox and a light stand for my light. Yeah, and I was like, oh, like shit, what am I gonna do? So when we were like during the hike, we found some metal bar in the forest, and I still had an invoice from my car rental in my backpack and the gel. So I used it to tape it on the front of the like just bare bulb, and let one of the guys hold it real far away, up high, and just aim it at the horse who's coming by.
Amazing.
So this is just nothing more than a piece of paper and a single gel.
Yeah, it looks like a new Bronco light shaper.
Yeah, I want my signature on it.
Exactly.
That one was also pretty brutal. But even though, like, it fell down. And this was one of the downsides of not having an assistant, because the light was up like 3 meters high. And then the wind just blew it down on rocks because, of course, I didn't have brought any sandbag with me, just my camera bag that I hung on the light stand. But still, it managed to fall over. But although that the handle broke down, the light itself was still intact. So I still was able to work on it. So that was pretty nice. Yeah, and also some cold conditions. So this one was shot in the up in north of Montana, close to the Canadian border, and there's a light just a little bit more off from the side, coming up from high, to make it look like a soft winter sun.
Nice, beautiful.
Yeah, this one is from a commercial project that I've did last year, and the client was referring to famous old Dutch paintings. This is the Milkmaid, of course, by Vermeer. And when a client briefs is referring to paintings, of course, they are setting the bar pretty high, and I don't like to. I really want to pay homage to these kind of paintings. So we had a big group of stylists, art assistants, and art directors, makeup and hair assistants to really make it as a whole. And I've used, like, Vermeer was, of course, famous for his soft window light. So that was the thing that we have to work with. So I've placed 2 lights outside. One was the octobox, which was my main soft light coming in and wrapping around the subject and the scene. But I wanted to have a little bit more of a fill on her, like an extra edge light on her face. So that's the strip box with a grid. It's not hitting the walls behind her, but just only her, like her side. And that was coming in from almost like a diagonal like this. So this part was a little bit too shadowy for my taste. So we've added another strip box, a little bit, so you can see it in the bottom right image, up a little bit higher than her eye level, coming down, and that is just real softly, gently filling in the front part of her face. But because I really wanted, sorry?
Yeah, sorry. On the BTS just before, it looks as if the strip box outside, the one with the grids, is like slightly orange filtered. Do you use gel filters?
No, that's it's because of the modeling light. It's the modeling light that's on this image on that strip box. Yeah.
Okay. And as we see a lot of soft boxes around, there is a question coming in from a very dear friend in Indonesia, from Visnu. He asks, what is your favorite modifier when shoot outdoors or on location? Why is this your favorite modifier?
If I had to pick one modifier, and that was the one that I picked for my Mountain Man project, it is the Octobox, the 150, because it's real versatile. You can use it directly, and it really wraps around. But if you point it like away and let the light like miss the subject, you can really get a nice feathery light, and you have a lot of options. You can get it like close, it wraps around the entire subject, make it miss it, so it's more like the subtle.
Yeah, we have seen this in several behind the scenes. It's always the big octabox, which, by the way, is a very flat construction as well. It doesn't take a lot of space. So even if you go in more narrow locations, it's a very, very versatile softbox, and working with angles works just great. Thanks for that.
Exactly. Yeah, and this was from a shoot I did a few months ago. So when we were on, this was for a construction, like an oil company, that makes oil for industry tools. And when we were on location that day, I saw again the light really hitting that location, really beautiful. But it was the window that was going to be exactly good for us, like in terms of sunlight, was between 4 and 5. And when you go on a big production like this, relying on just having the sun at the exact same moment is kind of tricky, because if it's like an off-gas day, you cannot do anything. So I wanted to recreate that light that I saw on my location scout day. So what we did is we played 3 big Broncolor Scorol packs outside, all with a pulsar, with a reflector. I think it were like 8-9 meters high, to recreate the sunbeams that I saw on that location scout. And the benefit of shooting like this and not relying on the sun is that you have complete control over, of course, the power output. Also, you can change the angle, but it's also consistent the entire time. So, of course, like the sun is coming in, like if we had to rely on the sun, which if you were lucky, you could do that, but you had a window of like 10 to 15 minutes with everything had to be perfect. And we had to do several, like a wide angle, close-ups, different angle. So doing that all in like 15 minutes was kind of tricky. And by using flash, it was consistent for hours. So that's perfect. That gave us a lot of options to shoot a lot of things. So those were like, this is also the only lights that we've used. So there are no lights inside the room, just 3 lights coming in from the window, just lighting the entire scene, and that's it. So this is the final image. The light that you see on his face is just coming from the sparks. That's the only thing that lighting is. So this gave like the feel that we're there on like the perfect moment.
Okay, and so outside you have something like in total like 10,000 joules or watt seconds. When I understood you right, you're renting for big sets like this. You're renting as well equipment. So you have a bunch of zeros, you have a graphite pack.
Yeah.
But then if you even need more than this, you rent. That's right.
I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't need that much power for most of the productions that I do. So I go to a rental, to the local rental for this one. So this is one from the same shoot. Again, you see the light coming from outside. Also, when we were on a location scout for this project, on this for this image, the sun we were shooting this in the morning, and the sun was on the opposite side of the building, so we knew that we would never get sun rays in. So again, we placed 2 lights outside coming in from the windows, and what you see in the back, like the fluorescent tubes that are on the ceiling, I like to control the light that's falling on my subject. So what I did is I unscrewed the lights that were above my model and added a strip box, which is kind of the same
Same shape,
size
yeah.
of the fluorescent tube, but I could, of course, control the power output. So that's my top light, and you see in the upper right corner, you also see a strip box with a grid, and that one is filling in the shadow on her side.
Right.
So it's like two lights coming in from the windows, one from above and one from right side.
Amazing. So sorry again, but I always have one eye on the questions from the shot before. Did you use filters over the windows, or were the windows just, let's say, naturally dirty, diffusing a little bit?
You mean this
on
these,
this
right?
one? Yeah, because it looks kind of, if there is like a gel filter on the window, but
we were lucky because these windows were like old plastic yellowish thing, so the light was already like colored and diffused by those windows. Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't really do anything except for, like, you can see just pair reflectors going through the window. If these were like maybe clear glass, maybe I would make hung up diffusions in front of the window and maybe add a gel, like a colored gel, to warm up the color temperature of the flash. But for now, we were just lucky that the windows already were like a little bit like milky plastic and yellowish.
All right. Okay, perfect. A question about a question I answer personally a lot. I have a very strict opinion on this. What's the difference between umbrella and the octabox? Regarding the light output, he asks, but as well regarding the light quality, because we don't see umbrellas in your sets. You don't see umbrellas in my sets. Can you give us your opinion on this?
Well, you of course you have a lot of different types of umbrellas. I personally don't use the. I want to use one umbrella, that's the silver reflector umbrella, but I do want to use it with a diffusion in front of it.
Okay.
So it's more like I still want to use it. I haven't used it before, but the normal shoot-through umbrellas, they will spread the light pretty far. So it's really hard to control the direction of light on a normal umbrella. And that's the main reason that I don't use them.
Thank you very much. I very much agree with you on this point. Let me answer the next question. Can you trigger flashes outside with a normal trigger through the walls? Yes, you can, because we are using nowadays radio triggers, and you can, as you can listen to radio inside the wall, you can as well trigger a flash which is outside. It was a different story years ago when we had infrared triggers. They were blocked by walls, but now with radio, they just pass the walls. However, the next question is again for you. When mixing flash with natural light, I always struggle with the white balance. How do you take care of this? That your flashlight, which is always daylight balance, doesn't look too artificially.
You can use gels. When that's one of the continuous lighting for like LEDs. You can control them in color temperature. With flash, you cannot. So what you can do is placing gels in front of your reflector or softbox or whatever you use. You have different strength in terms of color. So you have like orange, you have a CTO, and that stands for color temperature orange. You have it on like full, half, 1/4, and 1/8, and it's just like how much orange is in that filter. So if you're shooting maybe like during sunset, maybe you want to do like a full CTO because the light from the sun itself is pretty warm, and then you want to use to balance your strobe to that the environment.
Yeah, exactly.
Personally, it's all case by case.
Yeah, personally, I put these the color corrector filters. I put them in the intermediate diffuser of softboxes, because they can be much smaller. It's most of the time it's like a quarter of the size. Do you do the same, or do you have them outside?
I do the same, but I found out that when you do that, it also affects the amount of color because it's again going through the filter, but then through a wide layer. And
All right.
And that will like soften the effect of that filter a little.
Okay.
If you place it directly in front of the softbox, it will be a lot stronger than you place it in. But I also like to do it inside the softbox. Yeah.
Okay. I never made this comparison, but I will have a close look at it next time. Yeah. Thanks for this. Yeah.
Yeah, I recently on a job where I needed to place a red filter. I had one red filter on a reflector. It was like going directly through that filter, and then one in the softbox. And I saw that the difference in color was significant.
Okay. Good.
So yeah, maybe
Thanks.
it has something to do with the white diffusion, I think. Yeah. So yeah, back to another shoot that I did for. This was for promotional images for you have the Schans in the Netherlands. It's one of the most famous attractions for tourists, and a lot of tourists come to this place and to photograph the mills, which are of course really beautiful. But there was little to no attention being paid to the people behind the mills that make sure that they are still running every day and doing all the maintenance. So this project was to really give an homage to the people behind the mills. So this is a portrait that I shot really early in the morning on the water from a miller, and he's actually living in the mill you see in the background. Yep. And I want to do a rowing shot with him, but I want to do it around sunrise. But when we were doing this image, it was the wind was blowing like crazy. But I still want to create nice lighting on him. So I was together with my assistant and his son inside that small boat, and they were holding it like far off the boat to let the light coming from the side, because when we just this was too flat, so I wanted to have it from the side, but he was rowing, but the wind was blowing us the other direction. He was like rowing. Yeah, it was really
amazing.
Yeah, that was a fun one, but real tricky to pull it off.
Yeah.
And this was also from that same shoot. So as you can see, Octobox pretty close to the subject. My camera is on a real low angle next to the tree, pointing at him. I think this is also shot on the 28, side of 28 on my phase 1. And you see the sunlight coming from behind, so that's giving a nice contrast in the scene. But of course, the subject itself won't be lit properly, so added the softbox in to give it more contrast.
Could this be an answer for the next question, which came in from Leon, because he sees that in behind the scenes that most of your skies in location shoots are covered, has something to do with the country you're coming from. But what do you do if you have the full sunlight? You know, if you're outside, the sky is blue, the sun hammers like crazy. Is it maybe an option that you use backlights? Or how do you deal with full sunlight?
I try to let the people do not look directly to the sunlight. I like to have the sun from behind for a couple of reasons. One is that when people look into the sun, they're like squinting. So it's better to have them just looking into and when I have the shadowy part, I can control how much I want to fill it in with flashlight, or maybe a bounce or anything. But sometimes, it can be pretty tricky. But mostly when I'm shooting outdoors and the sun is shining, I'll try to keep it on one side or from behind, not directly in front of the people. Most of my images.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and if people want to see these, I made a screenshot from this one. This is from a video. There's a 4.5 minute video of all the images that from this project with a lot of behind the scenes. So if someone is interested, they can go to my website and see the video. Yeah, this is one of the most intense shoots that I've ever did in my entire life. This is a festival that is taking place every year on the 28th of December in a real small town in the southern part of Spain called Ibi. And the festival is called Els and Farinats. I probably butcher it with but I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. But basically, for about roughly 2 hours, they make like a war zone, and they use flour, eggs, and fireworks.
Wow.
And yeah, this makes for a real interesting scene. So of course, I don't want to do this project on like a normal photojournalism style. So one of my best friends and as a former assistant, I asked him with me, and he was down like instantly. And the image on the left is shot like between the image on the left and the right, it's like 45 minutes. So within 45 minutes, the softbox was entirely like yellowish, and the tarp was covered in eggs and flowers. And you see in the one on the left, I also made I taped a garbage bag around my flash because I was scared for everything being leaked in. But yeah, and this was my camera after the shoot, covered in flowers. And this was my assistant inside the
Still happy?
mayhem. Sorry?
A good assistant. He's still happy.
Yeah, he had the best time of his life. He was laughing so hard. Yeah, and I also wait, I can show you the behind the scenes video.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
Amazing.
Good times. Yeah, and these are some of the images that came out. So they're pretty surreal. Yeah, all used with just one bare flash and my camera. Especially the part with the fireworks was kind of scary.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. That's the
very cool. Thank you so much for sharing all this with us, all the behind the scenes, all your secrets.
Sure.
Yeah, it's really amazing preparation as well for the webinar. So thanks a lot for that. Nevertheless, so if you still have a question for Jeroen, it's now the moment, one of the last moments. Just use the chat window on the right side. We have still 2 questions in the waiting line. One from Leah, the other one from Frank. Leah asks, do you use an app like Photo Pills to see what the best location is to shoot? Because the light on the location during the day changes a lot. Do you use apps like that?
I do. I use an app called, let me see which one it is. Sunseeker.
Okay.
It's this one, and you can see it's doing like this, but you can also do like a 3D map. So you can see where the sun is hitting at that moment. So that's a really good app to use, and it's free. You can have a paid version to have even extra options, but Sunseeker.
Okay.
Life-changing. Yeah, good one.
Then Frank asks, what is your opinion on the progress of AI in photography and the future for professional photographers? Are you afraid of it? Do you use it on a daily basis?
Well, I will be honest. When Midjourney version 4 came out, like that was the first one that gave pretty photorealistic images. I thought my career was over, to be honest, for a few days. And that was also because I saw the images coming online from different people, and they were so good. And I was really busy at the time, and I couldn't experiment with it. And I thought like it was so easy to create it. But then when I had some time to create, to go into Midjourney and try to create some things myself, it eased me a little to know that it's not that easy, and it's not that good, not yet, especially then. But I do see it will change photography, of course. but I have now done several shoots where we just shoot models in the studio. I did a shoot 2 weeks ago, a big cosmetic campaign, and I shot the model in the studio. We did a set dressing, but in the final image, they will implement snakes, an owl, butterflies, and those are all going to be AI.
Okay.
So I think it's just we have to adapt. It's also easier because for some people, for now, you can use you can make up entire worlds, 3D worlds, fairly easily. And now you can shoot a model and place that model inside a new environment instead of going on location. So of course it's I don't think it will replace photography, but it will change the landscape.
Let's keep fingers crossed that you're right. Yes.
Yeah, no. I think I'm right. I won't see that. Of course, some people will lose jobs because of AI, but I don't think it will replace.
Okay. A question from Leon about the last shoot, the one from Spain. How do you direct your assistants in these situations?
Yeah, that was hard. I just said one thing to him, like, okay, just try to look where I am pointing my camera to and stay like just 45, say next to me and hold the light up high on a 45-degree angle towards the subject that I'm shooting. And of course, it was kind of difficult because I saw something here, something there, something there. So I was going like, and he was like, that's kind of funny. So this was of course really hectic. Normally it's more ease and I can direct the subject. Now I just had to see what's evolving in front of me and adapt to that scene.
Oh, right. Good question from Steph. Actually, something we discussed during our preparation talk. What are your post-production secrets? And maybe as well, how important, what part of the final result is post-production?
Depends, of course, on every image. Like the one from the biker. Of course, there's a lot of post-production in those images. The one from the mountain man are less post-production. Secrets. Well, to be honest, I don't really have any big secrets. It's mostly adjusting local contrast, matching colors, color temperatures.
Yeah.
I don't.
But you told me as well that you do this yourself.
Yeah, I do.
The grading and the fine adjustments, probably even you're shooting with phase one, so probably in Capture One, you're making all the fine adjustments before you even export. Your picture looks pretty ready, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. I use Capture One for like all the grading, the lighting, etc. So the entire look will be created in Capture One. I just prefer it over Photoshop in terms of grading. I think it has more color control, but the retouching part, like adding stuff or removing things, I will do in Photoshop.
Okay.
Yeah.
As well yourself, still.
Sorry?
Both Capture One and Photoshop, everything in your hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's and sometimes I will when I do like when maybe some compositing or poster stuff, someone will make that and I don't do it. But 95, especially all the images that you've seen in my in my slideshow are all retouched by myself.
Okay, good. We are coming to an end. For the first time, the question window is empty, but I have a few more. Where can we get your book?
Oh, you can go to www.themountainmanbook.com. Or you can go to my website, and that's just jeroennieuwhuis.nl or .com. Both will work, and they can purchase one there.
Still, the question window is empty. So once more, Jeroen, thank you very much for your time, for sharing this, for preparing this amazing presentation. I think we really have an overview of your work and your unbelievable skills in shaping light. So thank you for your time and sharing your knowledge.
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching. It was fun.
It was fun. Okay, see you guys next time. 1 month
Bye-bye,
we are back
everyone.
here. Okay, ciao, ciao.
Bye.